Yes, definitely. You can hear me.
म्यूट कर स्वतःला. Good evening, Dr. Mayur. Welcome.
Mayur, I can see you. Thank you. Yeah.
Shall we start? Good evening, friends. Good evening, all my colleagues. It's a pleasure to have you all on this platform where we are all ready to share and learn the only mantra of our life, homeopathy. So, welcome, Dr. Nikhil Kherekar. It's a pleasure to have you here. All our colleagues here at IHMA are so glad to have the entire HHF team on this platform. So, a brief introduction of Dr. Nikhil Kherekar. He is done his homeopathic studies from Dapoli Homeopathic Medical College, and he has a 20 years of experience, right from acute, chronic. Actually, he treats everything. There is no yeah, you name the disease and he treats it well. So from HHF, he is the vice president of HHF, and I think all the entire HHF team proudly does not call them by their names, but they call them by the we are HHFians. So that's something great about them. With yesterday's series where Dr. Mayur very well explained Baraita, Carb, and Platina and the the differences very well. We have Dr. Nikhil who will continue this session today with the PPT. And out of the CV, his best introduction is Dr. Nikhil is the Chalta Firta Materia Medica Encyclopedia. That's what I've always heard about him and seen about him. No? You're mute. You're mute.
No, I don't. I just call myself a humble guy. I'm just here what I know and I want to share it. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's the best part about you, and that's what makes you so down to earth and yet so knowledgeable. Oh, and I think another interesting fact about his sessions are you never feel that you're attending a lecture. He is always bringing in humor in such a simple way that actually never lets you forget the materia medica of that. So that's one nice part about him. With this, we'll begin our series. We'll give a 2-minute silence to our, patron, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, because of whom we all are here today together, and we owe our bread butter to him. So a 2-minute silence. So over to you, Dr. Nikhil. We can start today's session without any further delay. Look forward to learn a lot from you.
Thank you, Dr. Neha. I would like to start with my PPT. Can you see the PPT? Hello? Should I play?
Not yet.
Okay, share screen is not share. Is it now?
Yeah, it's visible now.
Okay. Good morning, HHF, and good morning, IHMA. As there is a tradition with HHF that we always call it a morning, let it be any time of the day, because we are always fresh when we meet each other, and we feel that closeness. So let's start with the session. This is the man, Dr. Milind Rao. HHF don't need any introduction for him, but for those who don't know him, he's my mentor. Whatever I am today, I owe it to him with gratitude, and I'm in debt to him because he has nurtured thousands of homeopath across, and he has always tried to it. Even he has allowed all his patients to be treated by even a newcomer patient, and that is something which is very, very, very rare thing, because we all know in the practice patients are very hard, and this fellow has actually shared his patient, and he has allowed his student to treat them whichever way they would like to, and that is his greatness. So I owe him, I am in debt with him. With him, I am also in debt with Dr. Ashok Kumar Mohanty and Dr. Gupta Sarji, Narendra Gupta Sarji, who has taught us a lot. And we have a group called Toddlers in HHF, but we were these people toddlers. So they actually hold our finger and walked us through this difficult path. So I'm in debt with all three of them, and I'm very much I'm very much thankful to them. This is me. I have been introduced already, so I don't think I don't need any more introduction. Yes. Yesterday, Mayur, it was a swashbuckling. Mayur, you're listening to me. I'm flabbergasted with that session, and I'm really happy. What a session it was. In fact, I was tempted to tell it to you to do continue with a couple of more days because I was really enjoying it, and the way the Barataka and the Platina and those experiences, I could feel it in in my gut and in my clinic as well. That was a wonderful session. Can you minimize this thing right now? So we were discussing something so that I can read the PPT. Yeah, okay, it's okay. It's okay with the PPT. Yeah, thank you. So we were discussing behavioral materia medica. As you can see, it is the preface to the first edition of Dr. Kane's lectures. The speech of the layman presents all the sickness to the physician's mind. Hence, the materia medica must be reduced from technicalities to the simple speech. I remember Dr. Rao always used to tell us, don't be a doctor, be a layman. Because as a homeopath, if you have to understand a layman, you have to come down to his level. You simply cannot sit back into a reclining chair, watch him and say, you are this. No, you have to come down all the way. Don't stay in the space. Come down on the ground, see the patient, learn him, understand him, and then you have to prescribe him. You are the privileged one to have been given with this opportunity to treat a person, and that is a very rare opportunity. Not everybody gets that. So the speech of the layman presents all the sickness to the physician's mind. What does it mean by that? This means that if you can develop a proper communication channel, a proper level of understanding, and if you can transmit that feel that yes, in the patient, that yes, this is the fellow that I would definitely like to get treated with, and he is someone who has that capacity to get me rid of my sickness, and must be reduced from technicalities to the simple speech. So if you could understand a simple speech, it will give most of it will reduce, for most of our troubles with the patients. Here again is a very nice statement that the circumstances, more the pains are important, but the circumstances, the particular character of the pain is not as important as the circumstances that are likely to cause it. Because see, basically at HHF, we also practice the person-environment relationship. The person, we draw a small dot as a P person, and then we encircle it with the environment, and we see to it what kind of an environment he has been living with, one thing, and then how is he dealing with his environment. And if the way, for example, somebody is having not money, somebody is facing poverty, somebody is facing family problems, then there are 5 kinds of environments: social, cultural, family, domestic, professional, and cultural. So if you could properly analyze these circumstances and the way that person is dealing to him, most of our job can be done very nicely. The circumstances that are likely to cause it and the particular conditions in which the patient has been living. Knowing the life of a patient, know him. I remember there is one Dr. Tomas Pablo Pasquero. He's from Argentina. He's no more, but he has a wonderful understanding that he has clearly stated all that physicians know about the personality is lies there in his psyche. If you could understand properly, that is the center of the body, and if you could understand that properly, you can really prescribe nicely, properly, and easily. In which the particular knowing the life of a patient affords much knowledge of the patient himself. If you could understand his life and what he has to say or what he has been going through and what he has been suffering through all throughout these years or whatever amount of time he has been suffering to, then that is very sufficient enough to prescribe. and it is there in the Colosseum. You might like to dwell into it. Now, though, yes, Team HHF. Now, this is, let's go to the case. Yes. So he was suffering due to weeping eczema of palms and soles. That was diagnosis was given to me. I'm not good that good into that diagnosis. It was a really pathetic situation. I mean, there were all the palms were filled with purulent pustules and all sort of scabs. They were falling off, and then he rubs he rubs his palms. The place around him used to get dirty, and it was a really pathetic situation. He was being treated for this situation by many dermatologists, and besides that, the dermatologist used to get him tested for blood reports and all sorts of blood reports, because that treatment is they say that has certain side effects on kidneys and liver, and so we should get yourself tested. And he was very reluctant to go into that, because he was wishing to get himself treated. He said, "Doctor, I want this thing to be treated. I don't want another trouble for myself. What if those pills and those tablets would trouble anything within me?" He was referred to me by one of my close friends who was treating him with many ointments and applications. Actually, he was giving the patient steroids, and for some amount of time he used to get relief, but after that the same story repeats again. And we all come across cases like these in our clinics. Yes, now, this is what I call the the way the patient come. We don't take the case, we receive the case, because you don't do anything nasty, or you don't want to do anything fancy about it. You just observe is the biggest art. In Keynes' preface, he has said that if there is one mention that he has said there is artistic prescriber who can actually watch the patient coming from the door, he can see it, and then he could prescribe it. So what you have to do is to observe the patient, and it has to be, what is he doing, what is he carrying, what is he doing with different what objects is he carrying, how is his walk, how is his physique, how is his clothes, and that gives us a better information about him. He was a slightly built person, had a puny physique. He was not really very burly muscles and all. He was small, short built. When this fellow approached my clinic, he was riding an Enfield Bullet. For those who don't know, it's a cruiser bike. It's like Harley Davidson of America. There's a tattoo and all, and those burly muscles, and dolle shole. And these people carry it with a kind of attitude. And this fellow, he was still having that kind of physique. In earlier days, they say that bullet was not possible. Nowadays they have got that auto start with the Bullet, that bike, and so anybody, any puny physique can ride it. So he was such kind of a fellow. He was talking, when he entered into my clinic, he was talking in a bit girlish manner. He was swinging his shoulder sideways and showing his hands like these, and that hand like that. And my student who was sitting next to me gave me a stare. I mean, what's wrong with this fellow? And I gave her a glare. You should not think about the patient like that. But he was talking again, "Doctor, see to this what is I'm having this, I'm having suffering due to this. Look at that, how bad it looks." And it's so, I'm suffering, I'm very badly suffering. What is this exactly? Why can't I get rid of this? This is so very bad. I have been suffering due to this, because for many days now he was suffering like a couple of years now. And what is the thing which will how will I get rid of this trouble now, doctor? Please tell me. I tried all things. Doctor, is it going to land up into some big trouble? Is it going to cause me cancer, or is it going to turn something bad, or is it going to cause gangrene and my hands will be chopped off, and like that? He was full of fear, and he was trying to because I was his only hope, because otherwise he has lost all his hope. And so he couldn't get any relief from any place. So I asked about his surroundings. Now that is what is personal environment relationship. He was running his family grocery shop. The business was running for 3 generations. The family was well set, and he has no major responsibilities. Because there was a wonderful big grocery shop. They had, a small kind of a departmental store they were running. They were having a nice family, and no responsibility. He was the only son of the family, and the relatives also were having their own business, and they were all well set and flourished. They had their family as a nice kind of influence into the surrounding and society. So what happened is this: he, being the only son of the family, because his sisters were already married, had all sorts of resources to stay with, and he used to enjoy it like anything. The whatever thing he wished for, he used to get it, and he was very happy into it. And so far so good. It was running very nicely, and family, his life was very good. He just passed, or he just graduated just like that, just like that. I mean, he didn't make any effort to get, very best effort to get through very with flying colors and all that. He just got passed through his graduation, and then he thought, I would join my family business, just like that. But here started the story. His father wished him to start new business or settle elsewhere. No, his father was thinking that this fellow has not been exposed to any sort of trouble or any sort of problem in his life, and he has to sustain that hardship. Now, in many business houses, it is a tradition that the next year, who is going to be a CEO or MD of that organization, has to start from the ground level. Why? Because they need to know, to understand what exactly is the harsh reality outside. So likewise, his father wished him to start a new business or start a new venture or do something new elsewhere. Or even he would love to for him to go in some other location and start something new. But he was very reluctant to go elsewhere or pursue something else. At this point, where all the trouble started, because his father was pushing him, go, go, boy, go. As there is an old saying that go, come on, get out, do some venture, write a book, fall in love, do something out of your life. Just don't stay here, because the things and affluence is available here, resources are available here, and you should just stay like that and enjoy whatever has been provided to you. So his father was pushing him, go, 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 and he was not really ready for it. At this point, all the trouble started. He was living in a protected environment all throughout this. To leave it was a horrible thing for him. Getting out and earning a penny is a very difficult thing for him. He just wished to stay as a caterpillar and not to become a butterfly. He wished to stay in his cocoon. I asked him, what do you do? And he said, we run a grocery shop. And I said, we? Yes, me and my family. So he was very feared, very afraid, and very frightened fellow. He said, this gives me jitter only by looking at it. Even if I see somebody suffering due to this, I feel what the heck it is. And I mean, how can somebody be suffering like this, or any skin trouble? So he was really troubled with this. So I said, relax, it's okay. It looks bad, it's disturbing, but it's not that bad. It's not going to be cancer. It will be taken care of. Wow. So he was not ready to accept this. Why, doctor, does this thing keeps coming time and again? Why doesn't it heal permanently? So up till now, and whatever he was carrying, and I was thinking, what must I give it to him? And are there any comments? Nope. Yeah. So let's roll through with the PPT. What would be your thought over it? Delusion's wealth of fear of suffering was definitely my first choice, and because he had that fear of suffering, because he was really suffering a lot, and basically what will happen to him, or what this trouble is going to be, and where is it going to lead, is it going to, pain is momentary, suffering is a continuation of that thing. So yeah, am I going to suffer all throughout my life because of this was his trouble. Secondly, he could not face the situation outside of his environment, so I went directly for Spineless, uh, light desire for, and light desire for with delirium, sensitive to opinion of others. And yes, he was talking in a girlish manner, a bit of a, moving his hands this way, that way. So I took the rubric effeminate. And that is how what I prescribe is, I prescribe you Calcarea carb. Yes, you see, if you look at those earlier images, it was full of pus and all. Uh, within say 15 days, his complaints came down to this, and in a month of time, clear. It's almost like 8 years now, and he has never ever suffered anything like this. Okay. Hold on. Just a sec. Now, to understand what was happening with this fellow, we must understand what is a Calcarea baby first. Because if we could understand what his protected environment was, now we can understand what is exactly happening with that fellow. Calcarea babies are always a precious child. They are precious because they are late born, or the only child, or in the only child in the family. Many times they are born in a wealthy family, but not necessarily that wealthy situation should always be there. They can born in a modest family as well. But they are being provided, they are being taken care of with every need, and they are being very much protected. So their only achievement is that they are born into that family. They're never allowed to face any challenges or hardship of life. When they will come to your clinic, you'll find their parents will make them sit into their lap. Now, this is where there is a difference, most important of all. If we go with the pulsatilla child also sits into the lap, and Calcarea baby also sits into the lap. The difference is pulsatilla baby has to struggle to get into the lap, and pulsatilla baby has to struggle to get into the lab, and Calcarea baby very easily gets that position into the lab. That is how it is precious. They are never allowed to eat. Don't do that. Don't eat that drink. No, don't drink that water at the food vendor, the vada pav wala and all that. No. You should not drink that. Don't go into into that road. There is a lot much dust. Don't go by public transport. Don't, that sort of a situation. They are being always being protected and protected and protected. Don't do that. They are never being allowed to face the hardship of life. They are not allowed. So they are like, there is a rubric elements from parental protection excessive. These are the kids who are being protected very much throughout their childhood by their parents, and that is where their trouble starts. See, If you see a child sitting in the lap of their parents, don't just directly go with the pulsatilla. Also think of Calcarea baby. Now, what happens with the baby? What happens with the baby when he's, he's a very precious child and he has not been allowed to face any adversities? Gradually, what happens is that they become very demanding and peevish because they know it is their right. It is their rightful. It is the duty of their parents to provide them with everything. So there is a rubric: obstinate children, fat inclined. What is this? I'm fat inclined to grow is the rubric. Why fat inclined to grow is there? Is in the mind segment of the repertory. It is there because this fat is not the blubber, is not the kind of fatty thing around their muscles, but it is that inclination to grow fat because they are very obstinate and their obstinacy tends to grow fat. As they are being they are not allowed to enjoy or whatever they are demanding for, their obstinacy keeps on growing and growing and growing. They will not listen to anyone. Delirium rolling on the floor. They demand, Papa, give me this thing. I want it today only. I want it today. And the father says, poor father says, no, beta, let's wait. Let's wait for a couple of days. I'll give it to you tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Have some time, have some patience. And the child starts rolling on the floor. No, I want it now. I want it now. I want it now. You should give it to me. So, delirium rolling on the floor. This is the kind of a child you are growing. That child is growing into. He said, "No, I want to grow. I want that thing. I want that. PlayStation. Do you have PlayStation? I want my PlayStation. I don't want that PlayStation 2. I want my PlayStation 3, 4, whatever the next version is available. Now I want that PlayStation now. If you don't give it, the child will be very much troubling. Shrieking children. This is a single remedy rubric. Shrieking children in day and night. Children just keep yelling, no, I want my thing. I want my thing. Daddy, I want my thing. Tormenting others day and night. That is again a single remedy rubric. And they become petulant. Now, petulant, what is petulant? Petulant is anger, very easily annoyed. But there is a difference. What does it mean by petulant? That anger is unreasonable. That anger cannot be explained. That anger cannot be accepted. No, you cannot do. That anger is something which is unreasonable anger. That is what makes them petulants. Such children are concerned more about how the others treat them. If you are not being allowed to treat getting exposed to the hardship of life, physical hardship, they are not even allowed to face the mental hardship. So they are being taken care. No, my child should, nobody should talk to me, my child like that. My child should get respected. My child should not should be properly treated. So then again, these children cannot take insults. These children cannot accept mockery. These children cannot accept the way they are or any bad treatment is given to them. So they know that they cannot retaliate and will have. So what happens is, after a certain time, as the physical hardship they cannot withstand, likewise they cannot withstand the mental hardship or any annoyance or any kind of insult. And so so it is always said that Calcarea is a slow learner. Calcarea is not that slow learner because it is an idiot or stupid, but Calcarea is slow learner because they cannot weather that hardship. And for that reason, they are always afraid that people will laugh at them. People will not, will misbehave with them, laughed and mocked at them. They cannot stand that somebody laugh and mock at them. Because why? Because they cannot retaliate. They don't have that power. And fear of being ridiculed. Now, these children, when they visit to your clinic, within their shell, when the Calcarea child is within their, when they are in a friendly environment, they behave like a nerd. And absolutely, when they come to your clinic, they can ask some stupid questions, like he will sit like, Or he will, doctor, what is the cost of that watch on the or the clock on the wall? Or these kind of questions. Why? Because they want to show. They want to show that yes, I know something. I have that. But Calcarea ka baby, even they are trying the precocity of the children. What is the precocity of the children? The children are behaving in advance of their age. So they try not. I mean, they try that. I should speak something of brilliant or something very much facetious that people would like to listen. But as the children keeps on talking and continuing, you come to know that he knows nothing. He has not that real knowledge or real depth of his knowledge. But this precocity vanishes as soon as he senses any threat in the clinic. His eyes get wide and they get thoroughly shaken. Their eyes start searching in all directions, and this is an out of the cell situation. Now, again, because there is a most important difference between Calcarea and Stramonium is that Calcarea don't hide his fears. He absolutely admits that I am afraid of it. Well, Stramonium, who is also equally fearful, what he does, Stramonium expresses don't like to express his fears, and he goes into the affectation. Calcarea is not there in the affectation. Why? Because Calcarea would like to easily admit that yes, I am afraid of everything. Okay. Yes. Now this is one side of Calcarea. He's afraid of everything. He's afraid of facing anything in his life, or he would not like to face any trouble in his life. But there is a flip side also, and that is what we'll be seeing in this case. It was a case of I came to know that there are other HHFians as well who would be listening. So this was one of my favorite case. It was shown at our weekly lecture hall in Thane. It was a case of irritable bowel syndrome, and this fellow was in his late 50s. His hairs were, I mean, while he was standing outside my clinic, I could observe him. He has a cheap black trouser, white shirt, neatly tucked in. He properly belted it. Then his sleeves were properly folded up to his elbows, and nice, neatly, properly kept it. There was a pen in his pocket. There was a newspaper. It was in his armpit, and he was absolutely nicely presented. He was wearing a golden frame chic presentation, and there was a tilak or tika, what red tilak or tika on his forehead applied very properly. And while just I was looking at him, I could know. I thought that must be some extra smart person. So I was most probably thinking of Veratrum. Now that was my drawback that I made into the mind that he's that kind of a person, hairs rolled back, so he must be Veratrum album, and I should give him a Veratrum album, right? Well, there was this. He started by a conversation started like this: Doctor, do you know irritable bowel syndrome? And as a doctor, I definitely knew it that what is irritable bowel syndrome. I didn't like that question. Nobody likes to be questioned or like that, or nobody likes you should ask something like that. Do you know this and do you know that? You must tell what you are suffering due to. I will look into it. If I know something or I can do something, I will tell that I will do something or not. But doctor, do you know what is irritable bowel syndrome? I was a bit annoyed, but not showing that. I replied, yes. Of course, I was. Hmm. But then again, he ignored it and saying, see, doctor, it is a chronic sickness of intestine. He started showing his bit of knowledge. Now, everywhere there are Google doctors, they know everything and anything they would like to know. See, doctor, it is a chronic sickness of intestine in which there is a constipation alternating with loose motions. One second. sorry, and discomfort in stomach. So I always, I know it. I wish I should tell him, I know it, man. What is irritable bowel syndrome? You are now making me irritable. No, he just blabbered on. No, you see, doctor, wait for some. I'll show you. And doctor, I know homeopaths give medicines to every organ and all that. But you give me medicines to improve the stomach condition. Okay? And that was a bit too much for me to take. So I gave him a glare, cold glare, but he was very much immune. So I continued further. Tell me, sir, what do you do? What is your job profile? And I was asking this because if you have to get a man down to or cut him to size, you have to ask him what do you do, because that is somewhere where he starts with the ground reality. So I asked him, what do you do? And he said, I am a social worker. At this moment, his voice, his tone came down absolutely normal, slow. And he said, I am a social worker. And I said, social worker? What kind of job is a social worker? I mean, what do you do for your earnings? Because I knew this is somewhere where his voice, his tone came down. His tone came down to something, and he said, I am a social worker. And I asked him, what do you do for your earnings? Because now I have started to sense the jugular, the weakest point. So I said, yesterday also Mayur told very nicely when to how to treat a platina. You have to, if you have to deal with a platina, you have to become a double platina. Because if he's a smart, you have to grow extra smart. If he's doing asking something to put you down, you have to do something or ask some question which you all have to put him down. So I keep on pursuing, yes, social working, social working. Yeah, that kind of a social working. Okay. What kind of a social work is that, and how do you earn out of it? And he said, he said, I am, sir, I don't have much of a source income. I'm not that doing well. His eyes turned a bit down. That is not possible with Virat. We'll share something about Virat also. And I am being supported by nephew. His nephew has, he was absolutely kind of having not much of an income, and his nephew was supporting him. And nephew has a house at Karegaon. This Karegaon is another locality where Mayur's next second clinic is, and he stayed somewhere there, and it's at the outskirts of Thane. And he was saying, I don't have much of an income. So I was thinking he's wearing this chic attire, those properly creased white shirt, folded, and properly dyed and properly turned hair. And if you don't have anything to earn, why are you doing all this for? When that chic attire, what is the purpose of that? And he was like, I don't have. My nephew has a small apartment in the neighborhood. He has allowed me to stay there, and I am eating in a mess service. That was a very pathetic situation. And how about your wife and kids? Well, doctor, I was married. He has a marriage. Then I did try to do something, some small time businesses, some small time jobs. I tried to earn. And then again, what happened is that I could not handle it, because I cannot handle the hardship of the laborious job or the hardship of the job. And so I could not continue with it. So I left it. But nothing. So I tried what I tried. I was trying to do some small time businesses which are easy for me, and it will take less amount of time to work. And my wife said, you're incompetent. That is something which is not possible with the veteran. And left me with our son. And the wife and son left him for destitute. They thought that he's for no good. And now my wife and son is grown up, and he has started earning now, but he don't look after me. But he also doesn't look after me at all. I mean, he's not providing me with anything, and he don't respect me at all, and he don't cares for me, whatever I'm doing. So I again asked what he was so much chilling or boasting about, that what is this social worker thing? And he said, people in the vicinity know me. I said, so? So I sit at a small roadside group. There are 4 small benches on a footpath with some small canopy. And, and roadside group who assemble there for chit-chatting and reading newspaper, etc. So I asked, what's the social service into it? So he said, in a meek voice, I read newspaper to some elderly people. I give free advices to someone who needs it, like where to get the government certificates, where should I get the railway tickets, where should I contact which government body to avail some services, like that. And I said, is this some social service? Does it have any purpose? Social service means you have to give something out of you. And here is the situation that you need something from social service. You need to be fed from somebody else. And now you are saying that you do some social service. What kind of social service is that? And he said, besides doctor, people respect me. Young kids, when there are festival season like Diwali or Ganpati, how to celebrate things, how should I set up a pandal, or what kind of a decoration should we do for Ganpati, and I give them free advice. Okay. I said, what are you doing? I mean, at this age, at least you should be working or at some earning, or you should be able to support your own self, isn't it? And he was like, I'm doing social service. And this fellow, was asking me, do you know what is irritable bowel syndrome? Eh? Do you know what is irritable bowel syndrome? And he don't know how to feed himself. Even his fees were coming out of his nephew's pocket. So that was a kind of, and he was just very happy to stay with him. So what was the analysis? He was a kind of a person who was clearly under false impression that everything is right with him. Although he has nothing with him, he is of no good. He has done nothing in his life. He has achieved nothing in his life. And still he was like, yes, I am a social worker. I'm a social worker. I'm a social worker. His meager earnings, failure to support himself, and the fact that he has not amounted to anything in his life was nowhere in his understanding. That is what is a problem with this fellow. On the contrary, he was under false understanding that he is doing some service to society and people respect him. Instead of taking care of important community, now what he should be doing? To earn first, to support himself first, and to support his family, and to feed his wife and his kid, then to take care of their welfare, and then he has to do some provision, for his retired life. That is one should be doing, at least. If not some big thing like doing something or shell out something for the society. He should have been taking care of his family, and he should have been doing, he should have been shell for them. And instead of being the shell of his family, covering them and protecting them from the outside world, he needs to be protected. And more concerned what people and society think about him. People or the kids on that stand, or those young people on the stand respects me, and they tell me what should I do during the festival season and all. Who didn't really take him for serious consequence. They don't really take him for serious consequence. They know this uncle is useless, and if you have to do something, or if somebody asks why you kids have done this, then they need someone to point their finger towards. And this uncle was that fellow who was they should point their finger towards. That was his only purpose, and he was thinking, yes, I am doing some social service. Wealth of. He thinks that he's doing, he's giving away. Wealth is something which gets qualified when you spend it. Anytime when you apply this rule, you must understand that wealth is something, if it isn't spent, if it is exhibited, it is not wealth. So all the fellow in the delusion wealth imagination of, that is a proper rubric. It is not delusion wealth of, it is delusion wealth imaginations of. If you go into the complete, I like one thing about complete repertoire is that the rubrics are absolutely original and in their original version. I really like them. Sensitive. If you take the rubric, into the rubric sensitive. The rubric is sensitive, oversensitive. It is not just sensitive. Because being sensitive is not pathological. Being sensitive is not morbid. But when you say sensitive, oversensitive, that means that you are overtly get hurt. That kind of a kind of influence or force which you should not get hurt with, they get affected with, and that is why they are oversensitive. So I like that very much about complete repertoire. So delusion, wealth, imagination of. And here we are taking delusion of wealth because he thinks that he has something. That is what his delusion is. He is living in his own. He's a self-deluded person. He thinks that he has achieved something in his life, being a social worker and doing something for society. But that exactly he was not doing at all. This is very important. This is one rubric. Indifference. Important things. Yeah, Arya at the backspace. I'll do it again. Incorrect password. Can you put the password, please? Please close it. Yeah. Thank you. Can you get me this rubric? Difference, important things too. See, it is a very valid input by Dr. King. There are only 5 remedies who really ignore. It's okay. There are only 5 remedies who really ignore what they should be looking at. And Calcarea carb is one of those rubrics. Why? Because firstly, Calcarea carb is either born in the wealthy family, what was the first case, or they think that they have done enough in their life and they cannot. Can we get back that keyboard? Okay. And they are living into this deluded world. Their fear of the opinions of others. It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter. Don't nobody cares for it. And they say they are very much afraid that what others might be thinking of. Sensitive to the opinion of others. No, busy fruitlessly. Yes, this is the big aspect of Calcarea carb, which we don't really find in the earlier cases, like who are very much afraid of. You will find busy fruitlessly. It's a big thing. Big thing. You will definitely would see to it into your day-to-day practice, because Calcarea carb, even they don't do anything much of the productive, they are very busy. They're doing something. They are doing social service, social work, which is of no good to anybody. And they just try to show that they are of some purpose. Charlatan, it is very important rubric. Charlatan is what? When you don't have much of the knowledge of anything, but you try to show it. Because Calcarea carb is a poster, and Calcarea carb tries to show that he has certain degree of knowledge. But the problem with the Calcarea Carb is he has not that sound knowledge of anything. He don't possess that kind of a knowledge that he should express. So he would pick up some or pick some pinch of some knowledge. Do you know what is irritable bowel syndrome? Do you know? If I would have started to talk with him on epithelial lining of the intestine, that would have cleared his trouble there and there only. But again, the problem with him was, no. Do you know what is irritable bowel syndrome? And despite the fact that I know it, and I have already told him that I know what is irritable bowel syndrome, he just kept on pushing. Now this is what is irritable bowel syndrome is. Presumptuous. Now, what is presumptuous? Presumptuous is a very important rubric. Presumptuous is to presume. It comes from the word presume. What does he presumes? When somebody takes something for granted and they take it for very much. Calcarea Carb has this takes his wealth for granted. Calcarea Carb his shell for granted, and he presumes that the whole life he is going to stay like that. And the problem with I remember a case. I mean, how they behave presumptuously in the day-to-day life as well, not their condition only. I remember me and Mayur were sitting in his clinic, and Mayur's brother-in-law gave him some nice calendar every year, and it's a very wonderful calendar because there is a big picture of the calendar, and there underneath there are 12 months, so that picture looks very nice, a scenic view and all. So one of Mayur's patient just dropped in, and once earlier she was afraid of Mayur, but when you get in proper communication with Mayur, you stop getting afraid of him. Yeah, he is a very lovely soul. And what happened that lady just dropped by. She picked or pulled that calendar out of the wall and said, "Doctor, I'm taking this," and she left. And me and Mayur were looking at each other like, wouldn't even like to ask whether you would like to take that or whether I should give it to you. She just took it. That is a kind of a presumptuousness Calcarea Carb possesses, because when he goes into his shell, all that arrogance and all that boasting and all that comes into him again. Now, there are yes. There was one lady, another case was there. She was in her 40s and she was having knee pain, and she was a homemaker suffering due to knee pain. So I asked him, 40, knee pain, so early. And your question should be out of the box and out of the book, and patient should not be expecting it, because that is, patients are very much prepared to answer your question. If you ask if he is suffering due to fever, or if a lady is suffering due to headache, and she will come to you and see, I am having a headache for these many days, and I have taken these kind of tablets, I have taken migraine and all that. But if you ask her, who gives you that headache, and she will say something which is very spontaneous, and you will get a good case. So I asked her, knee pain so early, just to begin with the conversation. She said, yes, doctor, I work so hard. What do you do? I'm a housemaker. And what do you do? I mean, what kind of a work do you do, a housemaker? I wake up in the morning, I make tea for myself, I chop the vegetables, chop the onions, chop, then cook it, then stir it, and cooking the rice, then serve it, and then I wash some utensils. I just do some household chores, I take care of my kid, and that is how my day passes. She keeps her busy, but that is some purpose. Again, in the second case, that fellow who was doing the social service was not serving really something very much useful. Likewise, this lady was also not doing something very big or something which is remarkably difficult to do. But Calcarea Carb keeps himself busy. How many people are there in your house? And she said, 3 of us, 2 of us and a college-going son. I would say, her husband is attending the office. He's going to office, and a college-going son, who is, when they get out for their college, they come late in the evening or night. And I mean, what kind of a work are you doing? No, doctor, these days kids are so difficult to handle. I have to keep an eye on him. I ask him, where are you? Then I have to see whether he's studying. What. So, she babbled on and on and on. This is a kind of a busy fruitlessly. This is what patient says into your clinic. They say that, I mean, this lady has no much of a useful or very much concern. I tell you another example of it. So you will come to know. There was one fellow in my relative's office, and he used to come to the office on dot at 9:30, and he used to say, see, 9:30 login. 9:30 login. Now I can, and others who were very much tired from the commuting and all, because he don't do anything at his home. He just wakes up in the morning, he just prepare himself, and then he leaves for office. And his only goal in the life is to log in on or before 9:30. And he tells others, no, see, I have logged in on 9:30. I can leave early in the evening at 6:30. But what do you do throughout the day? Then, because others were getting very annoyed and irritated with that fellow, because that fellow, firstly, after logging in, used to go into the canteen. He sits there because it is in the office premises only. So he has logged in. So his working hours have started. And once his working hours have started, he has nothing to do and nothing to achieve. I mean, he just shows it that I am somebody my task is very important. I am doing something very important. And he actually used to start his work in a post-lunch session. Till then, it was just a time pass thing. Many a times it happens that in an office, people start working in a post-lunch session, and then they work till 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. And then they show, you see, I'm working late sitting. I'm working extra hours. I should be paid extra, or I know I'm more important than others. While the overall work or the chunk of the work they have been provided or what their output is very low. This is a kind of attitude, busy fruitlessly again, because Calcarea carb has to show that he's doing something important. Why Calcarea carb has to show? Because he don't do anything of much importance, because he cannot weather that hardship of life, hardship of office work, and he cannot achieve much of the things. So he has to show that I am doing something very important. There is another situation I would like to express. There was a factory worker, and he was having a high grade fever, and that fever was just not say in the he was the last evening or this morning only he was suffering with the fever, and yes, he was feeling giddiness and all. So I asked him when he came to me that if you are having that much trouble, even if it is the first day of the fever, why don't you take a day off? Why you should go in to attend the duties? He said, doctor, do you know, for last 15 years, I have not taken a single day off. I have not taken a single day off from my office for health reasons. That is a flawless record. And I have to maintain my flawless record. Not taking a day off of, this is a kind of exclusive to. There is a rubric in the Calcarea Cup, exclusive to. This is a kind of exclusiveness Calcarea Cup always possesses. He tries to show that this, and Calcarea Cup's exclusiveness are such useless and stupid, because they are not serving any useful purpose. Now, exclusivity is a very important rubric. Initially, there were only 3 remedies, and very interesting rubric this is, because in exclusive there are 3 remedies only. Initially, they were Platina, Calcarea, and Natromur. Now, Platina, as you must have heard yesterday, is born exclusive, he lives exclusive, and he dies exclusive. So, Platina, although he is there into delusion wealth, he is not there in fear poverty or delusion poor. Platina cannot be that. Sorry, spare. So, next comes the Calcarea. Calcarea is there in the delusion wealth, but he's always afraid because his wealth is very shaky, because his wealth is from the outside. He then don't generate it. He cannot put some efforts to create that wealth. So he knows it, that if some kind of a trouble arises, I will lose this wealth. So what happens with the Calcarea curve is, Calcarea curve has always the fear, I'll lose this. So Calcarea curve is there in the delusion wealth, but he is there in the fear poverty as well, not the delusion poor. But Natramur is not there in delusion wealth, although he's there in the exclusive two, and he's not there in any rubric of pure poverty or delusion poor. Why? Because Natramur is never exclusive. He always, or she always tries to be exclusive, while she absolutely cannot. Natramura has nothing that could make her feel that she is exclusive. She always tries to do to show that she is exclusive throughout her life. That is why she is there single in a dignified. Earlier it was single. Now there are 6-7 remedies which are added. But now earlier it was just single Natramur which was dignified, and Natramur don't have that much of a quality also. But Natramur tries to show it again like Calcarea. But we'll discuss it in a detail some other day. So this is a kind of exclusiveness these people generate. So I asked that fellow, okay, what do you do on the duty if you're suffering that kind of a giddiness? So he said, I took a antipyretic, crocin or paracetamol, whatever it was available, and he went into the on that factory job. And what he did, he did some trivial issues, ordered some, do this, do that, and then he went into the men's changing room and slept there, just to show that I have been, on the job and working, just to show, just to make the show, just like earlier persons, they were trying to make sure that they are doing something. He just went into the factory, he went into that changing room, and then he spend or try some time in the resting in the restroom, men's change room only. That is what he did throughout the day. But he was there. So what happened is, duty, too much sense of duty. See how wonderful rubrics are created. Duty, too much sense of duty. What does it mean by duty, too much sense of duty? He never ever left the job, not a single leave because of health reasons for last 15 years. Duty, too much sense of duty, whatever he is struggling to do. And duty, no sense of duty. So I'm remedy both way. Very interesting, because what was the output, what was his integrity, what was his devotion towards the job? It was nothing. He could not attain anything, he could not do anything, and he has no intention also. He just has to show it there that he is there. That is all, and where his duty starts or begins, and that is where it all ends. Yes. Wealth, there is one more thing about wealth, is that richness is seen. Richness is seen. Wealth is shown. That is why richness is not pathological. You will not find any pathological rubric associated with richness. But wealth, yes, this is a pathological wealth. They don't have it, but they have to show it. Yes, mainly this is what is busy fruitlessly. You can see blah 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 blah. You can, if from this side of the office you will see that this lady is working very hard and trying something to achieve out of it. But from the screen, if you could see, this is what she is doing. This is what is busy fruitlessly. So what happens is, if Calcarea has to stay at home, what happens is, with Calcarea has to stay at home, he would not like to come anybody to see him, because he is idle. That means his exclusiveness, whatever exclusiveness he has attained or achieved up till now so far, is gone. And so it's very much irritable while he's idle. Sadness idle. Well, when still, if some people or somebody comes to visit him and see him, he feels very sad that my exclusiveness, my that is what exactly because he's a big balloon. Basically, Calcarea carb is a big balloon. His sound is a big thing and big size, but he has nothing, no real substance within. So sadness after a while, and as soon as he has to sit idle, he starts aversing everybody, because his weaknesses, his incompetence, his plodding through the life, he gets exposed really very much fast. So that is how Calcarea feels that nobody should watch him when he is idle at home. So if you see that patient in your clinic, patient always, or patient's relative in particularly tells you that doctor, when he falls sick or he falls ill, he tells, don't tell this, don't tell to that fellow. Why? Because if he comes to see me, or even many a times he says that I'm fit at my health, I don't fall sick. But when he comes to know that or other some other fellow will come to know that I am sick, I have fallen sick, then my exclusiveness will be broken, because that is the only thing, that exclusiveness, that boasting, that shell, that facade that he has created, that mask he has created, will be broken. Yes. Now this is yes. All the slides are prepared by Dr. Jovin Jacob himself, and he's also from Kerala, and he's a very wonderful soul. He has helped me out in many a times from through these PPTs, and he has wondered why are milestone delayed in Calcarea. What is a delayed milestone? We always read Calcarea as a delayed milestone. It is because of the deficiency of the calcium? No, because if what are milestones? Kid starts crawling, kid starts walking, kid starts when he starts standing, he tries to get hold or grab of something which is at a higher position, so he will try to get it. But because why this happens? Because kids don't get things easily, so they try to do it on their own. They will try to get things or done by themselves, and they will have to do some efforts in order to get something in life. But when Calcarea kids are there, you can see mother and father are holding his hand. Why should he trouble his legs? Why should he trouble his legs to get strengthened? That is what his problem is, because he was not even been exposed against the to the gravity itself. So he's just his milestones get delayed because he cannot he never was had that the need to generate something which will enable him to start with his milestones. So there are some paradoxes in the Calcarea. As I said, due to too much sense of duty, ambition increased money to make, and elements from money losing. Basically, what is money? Money is value, and he just not about it is not just about money, but he tries to earn some value. I mean, people should look towards me as some valuable asset of the society, of the valuable asset of my family, or somebody of importance. And people come to know that this fellow don't really have it into him. So he feels very bad and sad that I have lost my exclusiveness. And precocity of the children. Precocity is where children uh, behave or talk or think more in advance to their age. But there is another thing, school aversion too, because if kids are more advanced to their age, like they should be earning or they should be going to the advanced classes or doing some more or extracurricular activities as well, but he cannot even attend the school because precocity Calcarea shows or says what is not much of an importance. And so he tries to go, because school is what? School is a learning. School is something which exposes you to the outer environment, and Calcarea simply avoids it. Now, there are certain situations like kids of the superstars. These days, we see there is a kid who has been photographed all the time and put on the social media. I would name or label who, and you know These kids get undue attention. They don't really know why they are getting that attention. They are overexposed. And if kids get that feeling that I am special, without knowing why he is special, and without doing anything special, if he gets that feeling of special, he says I am special, and he stays like that. Then there are certain wives of wealthy persons. You can see many times the wealthy persons' wives are there, and they attend NGOs. And there are sometimes it happens that a wealthy person, develops some kind of a business around, and their wives attend those businesses. So we know, and gets important because of donation by her husband, and who sits in the dais. Her husband shells out 5 lakh rupees in the donation to some NGO which is working in some slummy areas for kids. Now that NGO and their people do some hard work, and they do something for those poor kids. And when there is a time of felicitation, she sits on the dais with some big ornaments, something like golden or something, and tries to dazzle on that occasion, because she wants to show that, yes, see, I have funded this. I have funded this. But anybody and everybody knows that she has done just the funding, not the real hardship. Has she tried to help? No. Again, the same fellow was earlier on. There was that fellow was also doing some kind of a social work. There is where there is no harm, where his skin will remain unscathed. He don't have to face anything in the music of the hardship. So they just like beating around the bush. They don't really jump into the situation and tackle the situation. So what they do, they shell out some amount, and they are very much happy that yes, I'm a social worker. Even I have seen people, Calcarea says, if he lands up into some fight with somebody, he said, if I make a call, 10 people will flock in and see it to you. Why would you need, if you want to fight, you fight for yourself. Why would you need 10 people to fight for you? But then Calcarea cannot fight for himself. So what he does, I'll call 10 people, and 10 people will flock in, and they will see to you. Dr. Tyler, this is a very interesting poem. It suggests the physicals as well as mentals of the Calcarea itself. With chalky complexion goes. What is chalky? Dr. Tyler was a Caucasian. And if that kids into that region, if they are not exposed to hardship, they are not exposed to sunlight or whatever, how are they going to tan? Because they will not be exposed to sunlight. How are they? So their complexion remains chalky, pale white, false plethora. We all see into the literature's false plethora. With chalky complexion goes fitness without fatness without fitness. There is lot much fat. You see the size, useless size. It's of no use, no good. Sweating without heat. No, what is sweating without heat? Heat is external environmental heat, not always the external environmental heat. Heat is something which is generated by exercising, or you do some physical work, do some hardship, but they don't do that. So the sweating without heat and bones without strength. The basic purpose of the bones is to have strength, to support the body. That is because around the bones only our body thrives and grows. And these bones, that is why Calcarea carp has weak bones. It is just not the lack of calcium what has caused the weak bones. Calcium, because these bones, the bones, if they are exposed, how bones get the strength? Those who goes to gym, they will know that when they pull the weights or they do some hardship, then only that bone nutrient artery supports extra calcium, and that calcium gives that strength to their bones. But these bones are never been used, so they don't have that kind of a strength. Tissues of plus quantity. There is plenty of tissue. There was an image earlier. There is plenty of tissue. It's a big thing. Minus quality. This is what is the wealth of Calcarea carbonis, because they don't have that kind of a strength. It's just a size. It's just a show. There's nothing of a real substance into I will not go into those rubrics and their comparison, because Bharata was already shown by Dr. Mayur itself. So there are certain remedies which are, yes, yesterday there was a query regarding Veratrum album, and I would like to share a case of Veratrum album of mine. What is the difference of Platina and Veratrum? Dr. Mayur has very rightly said about Platina. He has a superiority complex, but he has a reverence for those around him as well, because Platina is not, don't have the superiority complex just like for no good thing like Calcarea or Veratrum. No. Platina is a precious element, and that's why, because Platina has something precious about him. Platina has got some real good qualities. If you click a proper Platina case into your clinic, Platina will bring out many of the cases, and good class people, you just look into your clinic. If you cleared a good case of Platina out of his sickness, Platina will bring you all the many of the lawyers or judges or the big professional into your clinic. Where just, this is my doctor, you should come to him. And that is what is the quality of Platina is. He has that, if he sees some quality superior than him, he can have reverence. But Veratrum album simply don't have that quality. I remember a case of Veratrum, and so we'll differentiate very clearly and easily the Veratrum album and Platina, because Veratrum album also comes very close in the context of Delusion wealth. There was one fellow, and I come across from, he was staying in Thane, but he was from other state. He had a transport business, and he also had the tika and turned back hair. So that's why I was deluded to prescribe my first case, Calcarea case, Veratrum. But this was a real presentation and a regular presentation of the Veratrum. They wear those white shirts and turned back hairs and red tika on tilak on his forehead. So what happened is he sat onto the chair like, no, Bharat has to do something extra. He was sitting like this. He had a brother-in-law who was sitting next to him, his wife's brother. And I asked him, this fellow, yes, what can I do for you? And he said, I want sex tonic. In a booming voice, there was no shame. There was no hesitation. There was no, reluctance whatsoever. And he said, I want that sex tonic. And his brother-in-law was sitting next to him. So I was like, it was too upfront for me. And he was saying it as if my toe is paining or my knee is paining, or I have a headache. It was like, I want that sex tonic. So I asked him, but then again, something I remember that his wife is suffering because she was taking some medicines from me. I said, your wife is suffering from some amount of time of sickness. How do you come to know that you are suffering due to this kind of weakness? And he said, I have an office at, transport business had their office at the marketplace in South Mumbai district. So I have an office in that place. And, doctor, in the afternoon, I happened to visit one madam. He has a mistress. His brother-in-law was sitting next to him, quite adorable. I mean, absolutely, simply cannot understand this. But he was like, so I asked, so what happened? See, doctor, when I visit that lady in the afternoon, I spent some time with her. He was rubbing his thighs. He said, I happened to spend some time with that lady, and she, I wouldn't like that I was being let down by that lady. I want, my weaknesses are being exposed with that alien lady. So. Hey, so I don't like that my weakness has been exposed to that lady. And so I asked him, "Do you know? Does your wife know this? Because if your brother-in-law knows this, then your wife must know it." Yes, she knows it. Don't she pose any objection? What kind of objection should she have? I have given her two kids. I'm giving her anything and everything what she would like to in her life, the money, the affluence. We have a big house, two and a half BHK flat, two and a half bedroom apartment, and I'm giving her whatever she would need to. And but then again, it is not really good for your family life or married life, isn't it? And he said, Doctor Saab, dear doctor, in my village, if a man stays happy on a single woman, we say that he is not a real man. That is a kind of attitude Veratrum alone possesses. Because Veratrum is, first and foremost, is shameless. He can say anything or do anything in a public place. He don't hesitate to say anything which is prohibited, or it is not really very socially acceptable things very easily, and he will say it on the recently there was a movie there, that fellow says that I have a relationship with 300 or 350 girls and all. Baratram likes these kind of things to say, because there is most important thing is Baratram is a megalomaniac. He likes, so I'm a big, I have many relationships. I have a couple of wives. I have a relationship with 30 girls. I can, I can make a girl fall for me just like on the snap. So this is what Baratram goes and Baratram thinks. So Baratram, when you really get into close vicinity or close communication with the Baratram, you really start not liking that fellow, because one thing is he's adulterous, then he is a shameless fellow, and he has this ability. Whatever he was doing, he was saying right up front. That is what his truth telling the plain is. He absolutely tells his truth very clearly, that I am having a relationship and I am feeling this kind of a weakness. This is how Varatram goes. And likewise, the next remedies of the delusion, wealth, imaginations of will be considered by and by in the due course of time. So, as you say, we are left with some 5-7 minutes. If anybody would like to have any question, I would like to take them. Sorry. Dr. Neha?
Yes, doctor.
Yes.
Yes, Dr. Nikhil.
Are there any queries? Okay, then otherwise, I will tell something about the spineless.
Yeah.
Spineless. What is spineless? Basically, what is spineless is, excuse me. Uh, Spineless is some. What is spineless? Spineless does not mean invertebrate animal. That does not mean that these people don't have any vertebra. A spineless means you don't have that kind of a stand. When you have spine, you stand for something. Firstly, you stand for yourself, you stand for your dignity, you stand for what is right or wrong, and what is your opinion, and whatever you feel is right. In whatever aspect, we stand for our nation, we stand for our family, we stand for our children, we stand for our wife, we stand for our principle, we stand for our purpose. And these are the people who don't or who cannot stand to serve the purpose. So that is what is the spineless means, because they are too coward or too and they don't have that ease to face the situation in the life what they stand for. And so whenever there are situations like where they have to face the music, they will run out of it. Firstly, ammonium carb is a way too different remedy. Ammonium carb is dependent on its relationship, and whenever they are not being supported by their relations, they develop a term called rancor. Rancor is is a deep resentment. So in the radar keynote, if you go through, there is a sour acid disposition. And what they say, if you go through a novel of Godfather, there is a saying that a sour bile starts churning into his stomach. So that is a kind of a feeling ammonium carb possesses. It is embittered, exasperated, but is despite of all that kind of anger for those who have offended ammonium carb, it cannot stand for itself and cannot really fight for itself. That is what is the spineless of ammonium carb is. Bharataka, wonderfully. I would not go into it again because Mayur has wonderfully covered Bharataka. But there are two basic reactions as we are discussing with the behavioral mathematics of the Bharataka there. Firstly, when Bharataka is asked something out of the box, he would bite his tongue. Or I had a fellow who was suffering due to piles. He was when I asked him, he was very much well trained. What should doctors ask? And if I ask something, what do you do? How's your day? Or what was your earlier profession was? And he was like, that is something which suggests that he was not ready for the question and cannot contemplate what exactly is being asked to him. And so Bharataka is someone who cannot is very shy, very timid. All these rubrics have been covered, but these are the two vital important reactions. I remember in Rao-Sir's clinic, there was a girl who was bedwetting, and her age was something like 10 or 12 years. And her mother was saying, "Doctor, she's bedwetting. Still, she's bedwetting. She's 12 years old, and still she is bedwetting." And sir asked her, "Yeah, you're bedwetting?" And she was like, that is a kind of a reaction Bharataka produces, because Bharataka gets extremely embarrassed when these kind of a question were being asked to Barada Cup. In Barada Cup, there is one important rubric, learning disability for. He learns and tries to learn, but yet remains untrained because Barada Cup cannot get trained himself. Rhododendron is not. Cilicia has basically two characters. So because Cilicia is mild and timid and all that, but internally Cilicia has a very much egoistic and very much obstinate character. But because of its timidity, he cannot stand for whatever he thinks is very much important in his life. So Cilicia again cannot stand because Cilicia's shyness is because his ego is there, which cannot allow, which exactly keeps the Cilicia shy or in its position. So Cilicia is that kind of a fellow who cannot stand for itself. So these are the some most important rubrics. And basically what I tried to cover today about Calcarea carb is there are facets because Calcarea carb, as we all know, is a polycrust remedy, and polycrust has many entries, but the entry of boaster and boasting, squandering through ostentation, these are some very important rules. And they ask useless question, do useless activity, they busy fruitlessly, and their productivity is really very negligible or zero. So that is one very much vital and important entry of Calcarea, which I have observed into my clinical practice. I would definitely say it will be very useful to you all. Thank you. Dr. Nia.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Nikhil, for the wonderful presentation. I think the flow was simply amazing. Right from the Calcarea to the Veratrum comparison. I think that was what was very catchy for this. More than the how you came to the remedy, what was interesting was how you came to the remedy. That was a very good learning. So before we close, we'll just go for some question and answer sessions. I'll pick up some questions coming from YouTube and just ask you. So the first question that's coming is, could you explain the rubric petulant in the first case?
The rubric petulant in the first case. No. Petulant is the character which Calcarea carb expresses when he is into his shell, where all his films. This fellow, who was very much afraid, and he was presenting his fears and all his jitters to me in my clinic when he was a kid, or what's his usual nature while I was in communicate, or when I conversed with his father and all, that he said he at home he will behave like when he asks for anything or demands for anything, he has been very demanding at home, and whenever that cruiser bike, when it was denied to him, his father asked him, why would you like to have that kind of a cruiser bike with you? And he was like, no, I want it. And then he didn't eat anything from morning to afternoon, and then his mother told his father that okay, he wants it and we can afford it, then give it to him. Because Calcarea cow, when his whim is not being getting satisfied, he can be really petulant. That's why I explained the word petulant. Petulant is unreasonably angry, because that cannot be that whatever they ask is something which cannot be acceptable range. His anger is not acceptable. I mean, you will find many kids who have that kind of a boaster face. In India, what we call nakchada. I mean, that kind of a face. And if he was denied of anything, he would get angry for absolutely anything what they have been denied for. So that is where the petulant terms really applies. I didn't went into the much of the details of that case because that case was not featured here due to modesty of the patient. And so, but that was the really rubric applicable when we were discussing about his nature with his father.
One more question that comes is, what would be the key differentiating factor between Calcarea carb and Baryta carb?
Yes. Firstly, Calcarea carb has ego. Burrata carb don't have ego. Because Burrata carb is too timid, Burrata carb is too shy. Calcarea carb is very egoistic. Calcarea carb thinks that he is very much pompous. Pompous feels important. Then again, in the complete laboratory, the rubric is pompous feels importance because he thinks he is very much important person. That's why I emphasized on that very particular aspect that these kids are being given importance. They are being made feel special without doing anything special. That's why Calcarea starts thinking that he is special, but he don't really have any special quality. But so for that reason, Calcarea has that ego, he has that exclusiveness, he has that boasting, squandering through ostentation. Now, Calcarea is basically not there in the rubrics like vanity or foppish or dandy. These are not the rubrics where Calcarea you will find Calcarea. But squandering through ostentation, boaster, there is a sub-rubric squandering through ostentation. Now, what is ostentation? It is a showy exhibition of your wealth. If you go to the dictionary, the ostentation means the showy exhibition of your wealth. So Calcarea carb has to make that show. That's why I said that slide is there, that richness is seen. Wealth has to be shown. You have to make exhibition of the wealth. So Calcarea has to make the exhibition of his wealth. And basically, the bottom line of all is Calcarea don't have wealth of his own. Calcarea's wealth is his surroundings wealth. It is his what others, his shell, his family, his friends, or those people around him who would protect him from the outside influence. That's why I mentioned that word, that he can fight if it becomes a matter that he has to fight with someone. If I call, 10 people will flock in. Why do you would need 10 people? If you want to fight for your own self. But cannot do that. But still he has that ego and he is afraid of doing that. On the contrary, Bharata is some person who is very much timid, shy, and Bharata is very much routinist. If you see the Bharata Carbs are very nice formans, because if Bharata Carb is being given that properly measured and calculated task, he will carry out. You give him the code book or the conduct book, and he will carry out that throughout the day, just like that. Bharata Carb absolutely follows absolute instruction. He will not do anything. But when something, as Mayur has rightly told yesterday, if an employee who has been working for years and years together in the office and has been, if he has been all of a sudden, in say 15 or 20 years ago, government offices were, or those employees were absolutely told that you start right now working with the laptops and computers, and they were not really competent enough, and they were not very much reluctant that, no, how we have been working with paper and pen for all these years, how are we, they will not learn it. Why? And they will, how are we going to do it? You can feel and you can see the embarrassment of the Parataka very easily and very clearly, which is not there with the Calcarea. Calcarea will not go into that area only where he would feel that kind of embarrassment. He will stay away and he will observe it, that his dignity or his boasting or his entourage will stay safe, and he will be treated. And so he needs people to make him feel special. While Bharataka just needs that he will need some people who will protect him from that embarrassment. So he hides behind the mother, feeling that there are many rubrics of hiding in Bharataka, wherein Bharataka hides behind the mother, hides behind the furniture, because he is very shy and he gets embarrassed very easily. That is a major difference between Calcarea carb and Bharata carb. There are many, because see, Calcarea carb is a vast polycrust remedy, and Bharata carb itself as well. But Calcarea carb is far bigger than that. So it is not really very possible to cover it all into this much small amount of span of time. But I have tried my level best to accommodate it into this much time. So yes, there are many more remedies which can fall into comparison, but this is so far the greatest, the most possible comparison.
Good evening, sir. There are two questions I can combine into one, probably. Why does Calcarea carp sweat while sleeping? And the second one is why Calcarea carp sweats so profoundly.
Yes. Now, see, basically, see, this is the beauty of this science. I mean, if you see a fat fellow, when there are literatures that Calcarea cow, while he is sitting, he sweats profusely. He wets his pillow while sleeping. That even if you go at the physical level, that indicates that there is a lot much fat. Fat is insulation. Insulation is, what is insulation? Insulation protects you from the outer environment. Again, the same thing comes in the same pattern. He has been insulated from the outside environment, and he cannot face that environment. One thing, and secondly, when you have too much amount of fat, you sweat profusely. When do you have fat? When your body is not being exposed to that hardship or laborious job. And that's why when Calcarea carp, he has what they say, there is a sweating without heat, because his body is so very much weak to perform anything, that even the slightest what I would say exposure to any trouble makes him sweat. So he's in that sweat suggests his body is not fit. And why he's not fit? Because he's not been exposed to that kind of a situation. So why he does his sweats during sleep? So even while he is sleeping, what is a sleeping position wherein you are in absolute comfort, and your burden of body and mind is always being it has been lifted off, and still your body, that kind of a comfortable situation also cannot put his body into comfort. It sweats. It says still, I need more comfort, I need more protection, I need to go more into the shade. That is why Calcarea sweats during sleep. And there is another query I can see, that can lachesis opposite to veratrum? Well, lachesis, we all as know, lachesis lies there in the amusement desire for one thing. And secondly, lachesis is there in the sitting aversion to. Sitting aversion to. There are only two remedies, lachesis and veratrum album. What happens is lachesis has an animal instinct. If you look into, let me see that rubric. If I can, if there, Delusion, he is animal throughout. That he is an animal throughout. Dr. Mohanty has wonderfully explained this rubric in a seminar. Is this? Can I have the rubric, please? Animal Delusion. Animal, he is throughout an animal. Okay. Delusion. Animal. He is throughout a theta. He is throughout an animal. Right through. Being an animal right through, yes. See, lachesis has that animal instinct. What is lachesis? Lachesis is vivacious. Lachesis has amusement desire. What is amusement? Well, because when you go into the amusement park, you get into that involvement. What is the difference between amusement and entertainment? Entertainment is what you see. You are sitting on the sofa and cozy sofa of your household, and you are watching some TV. That is entertainment, because you are away from that. But when you go into the amusement park, you become the part of that amusement. Lachesis, when he enjoys it, when he becomes a part of something, he becomes so very much engrossed. That is why Lachesis is jealous so much, because when he gets connected with someone, he don't get connected passively. He gets connected very passionately. I am the part of this person or his life. And so he gets very much jealous. That is why he's there in the Delusion wrong suffer. Why he gets suffered wrong? Because he gets connected that much into to that person. While Veratrum, he's a megalomaniac. He's a very selfish fellow who lives for his own self. He can get out of his relationship just like that for no good reason. Because as I have explained one case, it's a vast remedy. It is not really very possible to cover into this small span of time. But Veratrum is very selfish. Veratrum lives for himself. He has a megalomania, while lachesis lives for his fun and pleasure. And most important thing of all, when Lachesis falls sick, while Lachesis is an animal, what is an animal? What is an animal? I remember Dr. Monti has explained this rubric wonderfully. Animal is someone who lives by his instincts. If I want to eat now, I will eat now. If I want to play now, I will play now. If what, so what's the matter? If even 11 in the night or what, still 12 in the night, I would like to play basketball or whatever sports is available, I will play. So that is a kind of a nature Lachesis has. He don't like restrictions. He would like to live by his own code and live a boundless life. But that is not what is the boundless life of Veratrum is, because Veratrum is very much adulterous and very much shameless fellow. Lachesis gets attached very intently and passionately. That is the most important differentiating features about Lachesis and Veratrum.
So there's one question which says, what are the fears of Calcarea carb? I know there are a lot of fears, but again, you can pick the important one.
Firstly, if you read the fear section of Calcarea, it is full of fears. But there are certain fears. Firstly, fear of opinions of others, what others thinks about him. And who are others? His shell, who are protecting him. One thing. Secondly, there is fear of suffering, because he don't want to face that suffering part of the story of the life. Can you hear me? Okay. So there are fear of suffering and fear of opinions, fear of ridiculed being. So these are most important fears of Calcarea. But then again, the base, the core of everything which comes through is, it shows that behind these all those fears, he has that feeling that I will not be able to face it. Not the society, not the embarrassment, or not being ridiculed, or those who are protecting him. What is his shell we call, to get disturbing them. So it is these are his most important fears. And lastly, he cannot show, there is a fear of losing, there is no rubric for it, but these are two most important things. He has that fear of losing exclusiveness, one thing, and he has fear of sitting idle. Then again, it damages its image and his false strength. That is what his most important fears are. There are others also, but these are most important fears.
I think with this, we come to the end of the question and answer session. Thank you, Dr. Nikhil, for this wonderful session with a very detailed explanation of these remedies. And with this, we look forward to the upcoming 2 days of with the HHF team, and with the what continuation is coming up. We're really curious for that. But in all, it was an extensive, detailed explanation of the remedies, and a very good explanation. Tomorrow we have Dr. Amol Rane from HHF team coming for the next third day of HHF team. And thank you, team HHF. Thank you, team IHM.
Thank you.
So wonderful.
Can I leave now?
Yes.